Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting chapter in pre-calc, which is inverse functions. It's another unit. This is unit 2A. So where inverse function is basically undoing what you just did. That's an inverse function. So, stapler remover removes the stapler. And so we get the same thing. We obtain the same thing. Okay. So how do we find the inverse functions? And so we have, remember we just did compositions where we have f and g be two functions. And so the f of g of x is basically going to equal x. And then we also have a g f of x is also equal to x. So they're inverses of each other when they are x. And you will see this in a later lesson. Okay, so it's basically undoing what you just did and getting the same thing. Okay, and the way we denote inverse, instead of denoting it as a function of g, we end up using f of -1. So if you see this little symbol, this f, with a -1 as an exponent, that means that is the inverse. Okay, so now we're going to go through this step, so make sure you end up writing down the steps to how to find the inverse function. So the first step is you're going to replace f of x with y. I always tell the students, f of x is a fancy way of saying y. So all you do, change that f of x, put y. Then your second step is you're going to switch x and y. So wherever you see x, it's now going to be y. Wherever you see y, it's going to be x. And then you're going to solve for y, and you're replacing y with f of -1. X, denoting that it's the inverse function. So we're going to go through two examples, so hopefully that will be able to help you understand this. So find the inverse if f of x equals 2x plus 7. Okay, it's a linear function. So first step, step number 1, what is it saying? To replace f of x with y. So basically, this f of x is now going to be y equals 2x plus 7. So that was my first step. Okay. Second step, it says to switch y and x. So now I'm on step number 2. So where there's y, I'm going to put x. Where there's x, I'm going to put a y. Everything else, all you're doing is just switching your x and your y. And now the key is to solve for y. You want to leave y by itself. So first thing we do a -7 on both sides. So now we have x minus 7 equals 2x. Oh, no, 2y. 2y. Don't do like what I did. I just confused. 2y. So that's a 7. X minus 7 equals 2y. So now how do I leave y by itself? My final step is that I am going to divide by 2. So we're going to divide by 2 on both sides. And now my function is x minus 7 all over 2. That is what y equals. Another way to write it is I could end up, because I'm dividing both x and 7 by 2, I could end up separating and writing just 2 fractions. X over 2 minus 7 over 2 is equal to y. And remember that our final, so we ended up solving, that we already did step number 3, which is solving for y. Okay, so we are on step 3 once we solve for y. Switch x and y. Step 3, we solve for y. And now step 4, just replace the y with f of -1. So f of -1x, I'm replacing the y, is equal to x over 2 minus 7, 2. Or if you want to say, remember, just leave it as a fraction, where we wrote x minus 7 all over 2. So those two are inverses of the function 2x plus 7. Okay, you could write it either way. Let's go to another example. Now we have f of x equals 4x cubed minus 1. And so we need to find the inverse. Again, step 1. What does step 1 say? Replace fancy at f of x with y. Step number 2, switch x and y. So we're at step number 2. Step number 3, solve for y. So how do we solve for y? Well, we're first going to end up 1 to both sides. Add 1. Add 1. So now I have x plus 1 equals 4y to the third power. Remember, we want y by itself, so we're going to divide now by 4. Again, I'm just going to write over the whole thing. Divide by 4. And now I have x plus 1 all over 4 equals y to the third power. In case you forgot, how do I undo when I have the third power, or cube? The inverse of cube is to take its cube root. Just the way square is square root, you take the cube root. So now we have the cube root of x plus 1 all over 4 is equal to y. But we're going to replace our fancy way of y now into inverse. So all I'm doing is replacing that, and now we have our inverse. Okay. And that's our inverse function. So remember, to end up writing down some notes, if you want to go back, go ahead. If you have extra questions, feel free to email. Have a great day.